So Stephen A. Smith is unfortunately doing what many people have done since Trump won the second time, which is namely either fully capitulate to MAGA or semi-capitulate to MAGA, because, I don't know, man, people are just interpreting this Trump win as if it's like a Reagan-style landslide or an FDR-style landslide. They feel like, 48 out of 50 states were won by Trump and that this is truly a mandate. This is truly the people saying we're 100% with him. It's not that. First of all, he won the popular vote by 1.5 percentage points, right? That's nothing to write home about. It's actually a relatively small margin in the grand scheme of things. You also had Kamala had to jump in with like 7 minutes left in the race and try to build a campaign from absolute scratch in order to win. She certainly made up a lot of ground from what Biden would have done. Biden would have lost over 400 electoral college votes, I think. I think it actually would have been a landslide if it was Biden. But the reaction to this is everybody's cucking themselves to MAGA and acting like, oh, actually they are geniuses. Actually, they have figured a lot of stuff out. Actually, we have to listen to them. And I think that's all bullshit. You don't even see the same level of resistance as you did in 2016 when at least there was some default sense of like, this is not acceptable. This is an anomaly. Hillary actually won by 3 million votes in the popular vote, so we're going to fight. Now you're not even getting that basic bare minimum liberal style resistance, which is a bit of a disaster, right? So here you have Stephen A. Smith. Now he fancies himself an enlightened centrist, right? He'd probably say center right or center left, but he's just a centrist, and he fancies himself an independent. He likes to do the thing where it's like, I'll go after the Republicans and I'll go after the Democrats and I'll show you like I'm above the fray, bro. I'm not with anybody, bro. I'm just an independent thinker, bro. That's his whole shtick. But guess what? He's not as independent a thinker as he thinks he is, because right now he's going like this. Where are the winds blowing? Oh, the winds are blowing that way? I guess I'll hop on that bandwagon to try to ride the wave and maintain some relevance. And the other thing is, every time Stephen A. Smith says something that either fully or semi-agrees with MAGA, there's 400 MAGA accounts on X that are out there praising him as being this genius and Stephen A. Smith figured it out, etc. And that's a part of the media landscape that people haven't really contended with, right? This idea that, like, if I were to come out here and say something that MAGA agrees with, shit on the Democrats, shit on the liberals, shit on leftists, and say something that MAGA agrees with and point out, like, I've had enough and it's time to tell the truth, and say something like that, boom, there'd be 100 accounts out there showing my clip, making it go viral. You'd get contacted by 4 or 5 different right-wing podcasts telling you to, hey, come on and tell this story. And they want to make you a star for saying the things that they agree with, right? And that's just simply not merit on the left. If somebody says some left-wing shit, it's not like we have this built-out infrastructure and there's 1,000 accounts waiting to give you credit the second you say, hey, Medicare for all is based or whatever it is, right? And so this is what we're working with. And unfortunately, many people, especially ones who like to be in front of cameras, are attention whores. Right? They're attention whores. And so Stephen A. Smith loves the adoration. He loves the support. He loves people telling him he's brilliant. So here he is. He goes on, quite possibly the worst show that's ever been created in human history, Dave Rubin. This is for the Nat IQ level political thinkers. He goes in there and he tells Dave Rubin exactly what he wanted to hear. Let's watch and then we'll break it down.
And the finishing touch for me was California, because I have to go out to L.A. a lot. And I am a fan of, I shouldn't say, listen, I like Gavin Newsom, the governor of Florida, from the standpoint as a person. Like, in other words,
that's a rare comment said in this room.
Nice person to talk to, because I've had conversations with him in the past. Highly intelligent individual, looks very sharp and very presidential in those suits. And then you see what's going on in California, you're like, nah. That's not me. These high taxes, the homelessness, the crime rate, etc. I'm looking at all of this unfolding because you have to remember I've been going back and forth to LA and New York a lot, pretty much since 2003. And so I see that and I see the regression that has taken place. And so when people are going off, particularly folks on the left, and they're talking about these policies and what policies are better and what's not, and then I see folks on the right talking about real life issues and stuff like that, I'm like, I hate to admit it, they make a lot of sense. They make a lot of sense.
Playing right into their hands. They're playing him like a fiddle. Stephen A., they are using you. They are using you. Let me ask you guys this question. Why is it we see thousands of stories like this? That, I'm a Democratic kind of person. I'm sort of a liberal, but hey, I saw this thing, and it turns out, actually, when you look at it, man, the Democrats really failed, and the liberals and the leftists really failed, and man, the right really making a lot of sense on this thing here. How many times have we seen this same song and dance over and over and over? Have you ever, in your life, heard say the following? hey man, look, I'm a conservative person, but then I noticed something in California that I was like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. So they decided insulin is way too expensive. Diabetics, are breaking the bank trying to just stay alive. And so here you have Gavin Newsom. He decided, well, let's put a cap on the insulin, number one. But number two, let's have California manufacture their own affordable insulin to make sure that diabetics always have the ability to get insulin for a very reduced price or free. So I said, man, I might be on the right, but I don't know. That makes a lot of sense, what they're doing there. That Gavin Newsom sure did nail it with that. You never hear that. You never hear that because there's not a cottage industry in that direction. You don't see centrists or right-leaning people who go out there and say, oh, man, I was a real critic of California, but then I looked into it a little bit, and come to find out, California released the world's first plan to achieve net zero carbon pollution. They seem to be ahead of every other state and every other country when it comes to fighting back against climate change and being serious about that. Man, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I'm sure I'm a right-leaning guy, but hey, that makes a lot of sense. Better get off fossil fuels, right? You don't hear that. You don't see that. There is no cottage industry built on that side of the equation. But there is a cottage industry of hundreds of little sycophantic MAGA podcasts who bring on a big name like Stephen A. Smith for him to tell this exact story. Oh, the right's really making a lot of sense. The right's really saying a lot of things that I think are reasonable. This isn't something that I saw in the past, but now we're seeing it now. Interesting, Stephen A. Why are you not going into the lion's den and telling the truth about, hey, I'm a centrist, but I looked over here at the right. It turns out 48 Republicans in the Senate just voted against the Right to IVF Act, as Trump was going around saying Republicans support IVF, saying he was the father of IVF. Hey, I'm a centrist guy. I'm willing to give credit to both sides, but why is there now a movement on the right to ban no-fault divorce? That seems kind of crazy. Why did 36 Republican senators vote against gay marriage in the year of our Lord 2022? That seems pretty extreme. Why did 169 House Republicans vote against gay marriage in 2022? Aren't we past this issue? Why are they trying to drag us back to a more primitive time? Hey, I'm a centrist guy. I support families. Why did 44 Republicans in the Senate just vote against extending the child tax credit? I thought that's something we all agreed on. I thought it was good to do the child tax credit. You never see this. And so you get a skewed, misleading picture of the reality of politics in this country. Because there's a cottage industry on the right where they try to play up all these stories of, oh, I'm a centrist or I'm a liberal, but I don't know, the right seems to be making a lot of sense. Are they really? Were they making a lot of sense when the House Republicans released a memo and on the top of their list of things to do was banning states from doing free school breakfast and lunch? Was that reasonable? How about banning minimum wage increases at the state and local level, as many red states are trying to do? Is that reasonable? How about banning extreme heat work breaks, which many red states are doing? Is that reasonable? How about banning porn, which is in Project 2025, the right-wing Bible? How about cutting overtime pay and rolling back child labor laws? How about that? How about what Trump and Vivek and all these assholes talk about all the time? Destroying the EPA, destroying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Is that reasonable? Why are we not talking about that? Why are we not talking about that? Because again, the cottage industry is there to do what Stephen A. is doing, and he's playing right into their hands.
I'm pulling up to the gas station, the price of gas. I go to the supermarket for myself. I'm not one of those dudes that just send people to go. I go. Yeah. I know what the price of milk is. I know what the price of eggs are. I know these things. Yeah. I pump my own gas unless my guy is with me, my security. I pump my own gas. I see the prices of this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I look at things from that standpoint, and when you hear people talking about practical things, and then I saw folks on the left basically trying to guilt me into voting for you. It bothered me. I might have ended up voting for Kamala Harris because I didn't like how Trump acts. But what I didn't do was call him a racist. I didn't call him a Nazi. I knew Trump before he ran for president. Yeah. We talked on the phone. We talk at basketball games or boxing events. I knew this man. And so some of the things that were being said about him, I knew were not true. And I was saying, come on, y'all, you got to do better than that. And I look at all of those things, and all of those things contributed to my ultimate move to Florida, because I said, it's time to think about me more and stop being guilted into looking at things through their lens.
Guilted. So, man, I mean, the right is right about everything, but the Democrats, they'll just guilt you into support. They'll guilt you into supporting them. Really? What was the number one Democratic plan that we were talking about during the Biden era? What was the number one thing they were trying to get achieved? It was called Build Back Better, Stephen A. Smith. What was in Build Back Better? Paid family leave, childcare, universal pre-K, free community college, expanding Medicare, higher minimum wage, lowering all prescription drug prices, and expanded child tax credit. How is that? Oh, they're guilting you into trying to support Kamala. What are you talking about? Because of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, this phenomenal piece of legislation got torpedoed. And instead of talking about what the Democrats actually stand for, what you're doing is saying they had nothing and they just tried to guilt you into supporting Kamala as the right was making sense. Really? The right was making sense? What's the number one legislative accomplishment of Trump in his first term? Corporate tax cuts and tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation. That's it. That's it. He outsourced 200,000 manufacturing jobs. 3 million people lost their health insurance under him. His biggest accomplishment, I use that word loosely, is tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. Now, Stephen A., I know you're a wealthy guy. I know you like tax cuts. If you come out and say that, hey, man, we got no problem. But just be honest. Hey, I like the right because they're going to cut my taxes and let me keep more of my own money. Just say that. But don't pretend, oh, they got common sense on their side. They got the truth on their side. And Kamala had nothing but trying to guilt people into supporting her. That's just an absolute joke. That's just an absolute joke. Because from where I'm sitting, zero guilting was done. In fact, they always bring up, oh, wokeness. That's what Kamala was trying to use, wokeness, try to get elected. She didn't mention race. She didn't mention gender. She didn't mention trans people or pronouns or Latinx or cancel culture or political correctness. She kept stressing she'd represent all Americans. She ran to the right on the issue of the border. She talked about owning a gun. She ran on freedom and patriotism. And then outside of that, what'd she talk about? The $6,000 child tax credit, a ban on price gouging, reducing medical debt. But no, it's, oh, they tried to guilt us. They tried to, did they? They try to guilt you, Stephen A., please. Look, he knows it's not true. He's just doing the same thing that we've seen so many people do in media. You see, Republicans are all genuflecting at the altar of Trump. That's obvious. But Democratic politicians are either fully capitulating or semi-capitulating to MAGA. The media has gone full false equivalence, and this is the main story you're getting out of this era. The people like Stephen A. Smith, oh, I'm a centrist. Oh, I'm a liberal. Oh, I'm open-minded. But hey, I looked at everything, and it just turns out the right is so reasonable, and the left are just guilting you, and they don't believe anything. He also went on to say in a different clip, oh, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I'm not upset that he won. Please. This is not brave. And it's a shame, because I like Stephen A. I like Stephen A. Smith a lot. I find him very, very entertaining. But the fact of the matter remains, I'm going to say to him the same thing I say to Joe Rogan. If you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to politics, namely policy, then just go sit this one out. Just go sit this one out. Or admit, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know what either side is running on. I don't know the specifics of what they did last time and what they want to do this time. Just be honest about it. But no, they're playing you like a fiddle, bro. They're bringing you in there to sing this exact tune. And this is how they flip people over to the Republican side without improving their policies one iota, without helping a single other new person. They're going to do their same agenda, which is for the robber barons and the plutocrats and the warmongers and the military-industrial complex. That's what they're going to do. But people like you provide cover, say, oh, all the reasonable people, all the cool people are over here. It's just those lames guilting people on the Democratic side when, again, they don't know the first fucking thing about policy. That's clear.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.